Hi, it's Kylie Q. Welcome to my studio. So yesterday, which was Saturday, I did my journal page for my Wild Positivity project. This is the page I created, but unfortunately when filming I made a bit of a bloomer and I missed how I actually did the kind of black and white work on those two characters there. So obviously I don't have those same images, I can't repeat the page, and I thought, I really would have liked to have shown you just in case you were interested. So what I've decided to do is to use a similar technique but on a different page in a different journal. So I am going to do this on 4x speed because it was quite long. When I get to the kind of doodling bit, that takes a while. So here I have an image. I didn't have a lot of images, but here's one. Part of it was missing. I'd obviously cut something out on the other side, but that's not a problem. You'll see how I deal with that. There was already background paint on this page, but that was okay. I just obviously rubbed some paint off. So I'm just taking this cherry blossom pink. I'm just going to take that sponge and spread the paint out. So yeah, if you watched my Wild Positivity video, which I am putting up literally just before this video, I'm going to put them up more or less at the same time. If you watched that and you were keen to see how I did that technique, then, hopefully this will give you a bit more of an idea. So I'm now taking fuchsia. The pink underneath is still damp, and I'm just taking this stencil from Snip Art and just doing some kind of rough stenciling. I'm not looking for it to be perfect. I just wanted a kind of distressed look, because that means I really don't need to hide all that bottom layer of paint that's still showing through a bit. So definitely looking for a kind of distressed look in the background here. So, what more to tell you? Yeah, as I say, I made a mistake with the filming, and I was annoyed at the time. I get annoyed with myself when I do those things, and I just thought I can't recreate that page. Then I had the idea this morning, I'll do this. So I'm now just going to take some white and then some black, using a cosmetic sponge again, and just a little piece of punchinella, and again just putting a little bit of interest in the background. Now, kind of pink's not a colour I work with a lot, but I thought the image that I had would stand out against the pink. The image already has quite a bit of black and white in it, and I just thought that would stand out well. So yeah, if you wanted to see this slower, you can click the little gears icon. You wouldn't be able to listen to me, that may be a good thing, but you could certainly slow it down. I made sure the background was thoroughly dry before I glued down my image. Now I could have used a glue stick, but I decided to use some gel matte medium. I just felt that would stick it down better since it was kind of glossy. So getting that into place, and I'll just take a plastic card and run over that just to make sure it's fully adhered. Give it a very light coat of the gel medium on top, and again I let that dry. So now I'm going to start doing the details. So I'm taking these two acrylic pens, and I'm showing you that again because I stopped the camera at that point and restarted, and I was being very careful today to make sure I was properly stopping and starting the camera. So I'm taking these Montana pens, one in black, one in white. Now I think their class is fine, but they're actually quite a thick marker, and for an image this size, it's fine for the thick lines, but thinner pens would be better. So I did have some Posca pens on standby. So all I'm doing now is working with the hair and just kind of following the line of the hair, and basically just drawing some lines in, exaggerating obviously the hair here because this is not intended to be realistic. And all I'm doing now is to take the black pen And you can see that I adjust it as I go along and just starting to fill in the black. And this is why I've put it on 4 times speed, because this is quite a time-consuming process, but it's a lot of fun to do. It's one of these projects that can really absorb you. I mean, by the time I finish this page, I actually could have spent even more time on it, but I think I had spent over an hour on it, which, you know, isn't too bad for an art journal page. So yeah, just going over some of those lines again, making some of them thicker, just adding in bits, and I will later actually go over them entirely again. Sometimes it just depends on the surface that you're working on. So I think this is just a gel pen or perhaps an ordinary biro, and just going over the eyebrows. I put some red on the lips, although I do change that again later. That's a gel pen and I do end up moving it about a bit, but it can be shifted quite easily. And just a blue gel pen for the eyes there. So now I'm going to fill in the other strands of hair just with the white pen. Now the white does pick up some of the black. I noticed this yesterday as well, probably because they are water-based. They're acrylic, but they seem to be water-based, and it does pick it up a little bit. So again, just following a similar process and filling in the white. And of course, can always take a fine marker to even out some of those lines. So I'm just taking these Faber-Castell supposedly skin tones. I just go over, I think this is Ivory, I just go over her face, although some of that ends up getting wiped off. Put on her arm as well, and her neck. I was really just putting this down as a base for anything else that I might put down afterwards. So this is the supposed medium flesh tone. Just try to blend it out ever so slightly. Can't decide if I like it or not, whether it's too exaggerated. I still had a wet wipe from yesterday. It still had a bit of dampness on it, so I'm just using that to move it around a bit, and you'll see it does lift it. So I decide I do like them, I put them back in, I dab them out, and so it goes on. But you know, that's fine. That's what art's all about, just trying things, seeing if you like them. So I then use the same colour on the lips this time. Notice there's a bit of her natural hair showing there, so I just go over that and then go back over the black and the white. You see the second coat of white really does stand out more. These do end up being quite matte looking though, the black in particular. So this kind of technique could be done with paint, it could be done with felt tip pens. It would depend what type of surface you were doing it on top of. You just need to be careful. So I'm now just taking that basic black pen again and just doing a rough outline around her, just to make her stand out a little bit. I did consider going round her with the black marker, but decided against it in the end. I also thought about doing some work on her top, filling in a bit of detail, but I kind of ran out of time and I couldn't decide anyway. I was thinking a kind of pink to bring out some of the background, but left it at that. So just adding some detail to the face, again, just kind of exaggerating some of the things there. So while that's all drying, I decide to do a border. And I just keep this kind of in keeping with the way that this whole page is going anyway. So just drawing it in very roughly just now, and then I'll go back round and I will fill that in black to begin with, and then I'll do some white stripes and then some white dots. And very deliberately trying to make that line thicker in some places and thinner in others, and it just adds interest. So I've gathered up all my white Posca pens. I love white Poscas, but they do tend to flood on me eventually, so I then buy more and then they flood. And in the end, I've just opted for this white Jelly Roll pen. It actually worked really well on top of the black, so I didn't think it would be too good, but I was pleased with the way it turned out, so. Which is good, because virtually every Posca, when I tried it, it was flooding. So really just adding the detail of the doodles now, and all I'm doing is, I looked back to see some of the shapes that I'd used yesterday, and it's really just, I mean, it literally is just doodling. I try and do a different type of doodle on each sort of strand of hair. So I'm doing all the white on black to begin with. And as I say, this is a thing that kind of takes time, but it is a lot of fun to do if you like doing that type of thing. But I think the effect that it leaves is good. You know, I wouldn't be doing it for every piece of work that I do, but it's a bit of fun. Sometimes I just got to think about what kind of design can I put down. And I don't worry about it being perfect. Turning the book round sometimes because I'm trying not to go on top of anything that might still be wet. And obviously sometimes it's just easier to move the book around to get right into it. And just a kind of fish scale one there. So at this point I decide that I will start to add some interest to the face, just by way of dots mainly, on the ends of the eyelashes, putting a little flash of light in the eyes and a little bit on the lips. And again, could do lots of doodling on the face or just a little bit. Adding some more white into the eyes and just some marks on the forehead. And I will come back and do a tiny bit more to that towards the end. So now that I'm sure the black's dry, I've just gone and added in the stripes and then the dots. So I'm now taking this Derwent fine liner and now just doing the doodling on the white. And again, just trying to do something different in each strand. I do end up copying some of the kind of symbols that I used, some of the doodles that I used when I did the black on white. And if you like doodling, this is a great way just to kind of spend an hour or so. And it's the sort of page that you never quite know when it's finished, really. And as I said earlier, I probably could have gone on and doodled away for much longer on this. That was me stretching my hand out. My hand was starting to get sore at this point. And I think that's one of the reasons I stopped when I did. I needed to kind of stretch my hands and just get up and stretch, I guess. So I used that pen just to go over the black that was on the face. It just stood out a bit better. Decided to do a bit of a almost tattoo effect on her arm. Now I decide that I want some white there. The jelly pen wasn't working quite so well, so I deliberately flooded the Posca and then just lifted the ink with the nib. And just off camera at the end I just add a tiny bit more detail to that. So I am just adding some words and I am just calling this take 2, given that take 1 didn't go so well. And a big exclamation there. So just about at the end, as I say, really did this as a supplement to the other video, but it kind of stands in its own right as well. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me again for my next video. So thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.